Welcome, everybody, to this week's show. This is the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. I am your host, Russell Gibson. And on this edition of the midweek feed, we are just going to be talking all basketball cards. And there is lots of really cool sales and news to go through. So let's just get into it. Starting off this week, we are going to start with the GOAT, which is Michael Jordan, 1997 Metal Universe. Precious metal gems, red number to 90, BGS 8, pop 11 on this, achieved an all-time high when it was sold for $1,473,988.80. And don't forget that 80 cents. There is a little bit to break down on this card, and I don't think there's a lot to break down. I think the obvious thing here is that it's Michael Jordan. It's a PMG, and in addition to that, 90s inserts are absolutely just going off at the moment. And so thanks for listening, man. I appreciate you. And so it's basically just mixing all of these things in together that makes it such a crazy situation that we're currently in at the moment. The really interesting thing for me is that it's a lot of money to be spending on a card. Like, it's a stupid amount of money to be spending on a card. In saying that, it is the GOAT of the hobby. And so is this the person that you actually want to be putting $1 million into? The really interesting thing a while back is that a couple of years ago during COVID, there was a lot of talk around the 1986 Fleer, and that was going to be $1 million card. And let's just go and check the prices on that, because it never actually got to $1 million. It peaked at $645,000. It's currently trading at $414,000. But the thing about that is that the pop just on the PSA 10 alone is 335. The total population on this card is 58,000. And I'm sure a lot of those cards have been regraded. So I don't know. Let's just filter it down to say 54,000. There are still an absolute heap of them out there. So when you look at this card and you say, well, that's a heap of money. It's what, 3x more than the 86 Fleer is trading at. The population of that, on the total on that, is 90. I think when you keep the population part in your head, or you sort of factor that into the equation, actually, I don't think this is a ridiculous sale at all. In many ways, I think this is actually a really, really good purchase. And probably what it does make me think about, though, is what would a higher grade, what would a PSA 8 go for? What would the green go for? So there's a BGS 9.5 in circulation. There's two of those. It last sold for $41,000, but that was in 2012. So, I mean, you could make an argument for that it could sell for a lot more. The highest PSA grade in this, though, is 6.5, and that sold for $480,000, and that was in February 21. So obviously things have changed dramatically since then. I mean, there's a play here where you switch this over or you regrade this at PSA, isn't there? I mean, it's a hell of a gamble to do it, but nothing in the comments on this one, but that's from our friends at Card Ladder. Absolutely banging on that one. What a fantastic way to start the show. Coming in next, we have the 2013 Panini Prizm Steph Curry Gold Prizm, which is numbered to 10. PSA 10, it sold for $330,000, and that sold on August the 13th. So about 13 days ago now. It's sold on alt platform. Again, the breakdown for me on this is going to be pretty straightforward. Absolutely banging card. Steph Curry is becoming more and more popular at the moment. I still think this is the floor for Steph Curry. I think this card's got a lot of movement to go on the upwards. PSA 10, obviously the market is so hot for PSA at the moment. What I'm interested in doing, though, is actually comping this to something else. So I found a card this week, and it literally sold for exactly the same price. So this is the Tim Duncan 1997 Metal Universe PMG green number to 10, BGS 8. Population on this is 3. It sold for $330,000, 646, which is basically $645 more than what the Steph Curry sold for. This is number to 10. The Steph Curry's number to 10. Obviously, the Steph Curry is a gold, and it's PSA 10 versus the BGS 10 on this one. This is a banging comp, isn't it? It's actually crazy to me that the PMG's gone for, maybe I say this the other way around. It's crazy to me that the Steph Curry Gold has gone for the same price as the BGS8. Looking through the comments here, this is from Enjoy Cards _IG. Honestly, seems like this card should go for way more. Yeah, I agree. I think that's unders. And I think part of it is Tim Duncan because he is not as beloved as, say, a guy like Steph Curry. IV_shed, cheap, TCG sports cards, Duncan with a rocket going up. I think that means going to the moon. Upstate sports cards, just fire emoji. I think if I had to pick between one or the other here, I actually think both of these are good buys. I think the Steph Curry is a good buy because it's PSA 10 and it's Steph. It's first year Prizm. There's a lot to like about this card. I think it's very aesthetically pleasing, but I think there's a lot of hobby room to grow with Tim Duncan, and that at some point, I think the narrative on his hobby value is actually going to flip pretty soon. So again, I think PMG is absolutely iconic, and I think in the longer term, it's going to be the more collectible card in comparison to the 2013 Gold Prizm, even though I think they're super collectible. If I'm choosing between the two, I'm probably going to go for the PMG. Yeah. Anyway, that's two super fun cards there. Congratulations to both the buyers and the sellers on each of these. I think the timing on this Steph Curry card is a little bit interesting because I think there's a lot of room for his career to keep going forward, like in terms of adding accolades and points and three-pointers made. So I don't think his resume is finished yet. But at the same time, there is this kind of crazy surge at the moment of 90s retro cards and also gold prisms. I think they're going like really hot at the moment. So interesting timing on this. This is from Lameme James. Thank you for choosing PSA. We truly appreciate your business. We're writing to let you know that upon review of submission XYZ, we found a gift card included with your items. As gift cards are not eligible for grading processing services, this item is being routed to your PO for return. As this is your first submission of this kind, we will be sending the item back to you as a courtesy with no return shipping fee charged. Please note that this courtesy applies to first-time occurrences only per our terms and conditions. Any future instances of ineligible items being included in a submission may result in a return shipping fee and could potentially lead to an account block. We kindly ask that you review our submission policy and guidelines before your next order to help avoid any delays or fees going forward. I mean, I kind of love the veracity of this person sending in a gift card to PSA with their submission. I think you can take that as a bribe. I think PSA is absolutely taking the high road here in terms of sending it back to them and sending them this very politically correct email. I wonder how often that this happens, to be honest. There's so many different scams that are associated with gift cards, and this is just another one to add to the list, isn't it, really? Alrighty, this is from Panini America, and it is upcoming Panini Origins and Noir basketball feature. Exciting new on-card autographs from star rookies like VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, and more. You can even find special flawless national treasures and more autographs from iconic Panini brands inserted into these releases. Swipe for a preview of just some of the amazing hits to look for in upcoming Panini basketball releases, and read more details at the link in our bio. So when I first had a look through this, I wasn't really impressed. And my initial thought was that usually in the photographs, it is Steph Curry, it's Ja Morant, it's Luka Doncic, Wemby, Zion Williamson, those type of names. But when your headliner is VJ Edgecombe and the next person is Carter Bryant and the next athlete after that is Trey Johnson and then Hugo Gonzalez, you're really in big trouble, aren't you? Like, it's a very steady slope down in terms of who's signing into these products. And I think there'll be some nostalgia for people. I think people will buy this so long as the price is at the right level or at the right price point. But how many people are actually hard chasing Carter Bryant, Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, and Gonzalez? Like, it's pretty niche at that point. And interestingly, here's another guy here, Carmen Malak. It's Cedric Howard. He's collectible. I'll give them that. I think they've done a good job on this one here, creating an illusion and not showing the Memphis logo on the jersey. But here we go, Darius Acuff. I don't even think is that a college uniform? That doesn't even look like a pro uniform. And so now are they mixing in collegiate? If they were mixing in WNBA into this, actually, I think that would be better than mixing in collegiate. That's my personal thing. But, here we are. Look, so we're seeing some of the designs on this one here. This Origins swoosh patch booklet. I think that looks really cool. I would actually personally love to have one of those. I love the swoosh patches. The on-card autograph on the Noir card. Again, that looks pretty nice. The catchphrase. I think that's a good wrinkle, them putting in custom autographs into it, but it's a bit too late now. They should have been doing this 5 years ago when they had the licensing. The sneaker swatches, they were previously in iMac. It almost seems to me like Origins is a high-end Chronicles basketball now, so that is a different type wrinkle that we haven't seen before. I'm a bit surprised that they're not trying to juice this as much as they can and do NT and do flawless. Almost seems like the death of Panini basketball in some ways when you bring it out like that. The sneaker swatches, I think they'll still be collectible. Definitely not as collectible if they don't have an autograph on it, but I think they can do a really cool job with that still. And in some ways, this will be easier for them to do because they don't need to have the team logo in it because the focus will be on the shoes. So that's a bit of an interesting one to watch. I think that there actually is some potential on that to be done well. Flawless card, again, looks absolutely beautiful, but it's a little bit too little too late, isn't it? I'd like to see the full autograph checklist to see before I buy into this, but I've got to say, the amount of product I've been ripping lately is next to nothing, and this doesn't really motivate me to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a box of this to get, an unofficial, unlicensed autograph. It's just not really my jam, to be honest, but the designs look pretty good. Alrighty. Last week, I did 2 segments that I ended up, one of them I removed, one of them I left in, and I actually do regret it now. So I do need to do a correction from last week. Last week, I did a story about Jordan Poole. It was from a Twitter source, and it turns out actually it was a fake story. So Jordan Poole has not been released. I probably should have realized it when it said that he was going to go back to the Warriors, and I actually questioned it, and I'm like, why on earth would he go back to the Warriors after Draymond Green punched him out of there? The other thing about Jordan Poole, too, is his contract. It's huge. And again, I should have picked up on this. He's owed $34 million this year. Look, it's not impossible he could be waived because this is the last year of his deal, but it would be $26 million for him to, be released this early, I would imagine. Why would he walk away from that cash if he doesn't need to? Anyway, so look, I do apologize for that. I definitely got caught my pants down. It is a little bit of a funny one, though, because the same day there was also a story about Joel Embiid. And actually, I was like, I initially got tricked by that, and then I realized it was a fake one. So I do love Twitter, but at the same time, those fake accounts really do grind my gears just a little bit. This is true, though. This is from Shams. Trendon Watford considered multiple options, but for New Orleans serves as a productive two-way get late into the offseason after a year in Philadelphia where he notched a 20-point, 17 rebound, 10 assist triple-double in November. And my man here, Comron, he's already commented on it. So the Pelicans roster is pretty firm at the moment. They have traded away Brandon Ingram. That trade has now gone through after there was some accusations that Kawhi Leonard took money inappropriately, but that's all being cleared now. So they're actually a pretty deep team. I think, again, what all of this comes down to is how well can Zion Williamson play week to week, the development of Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and I think also, too, with Derek Queen. It's interesting they've got Derek Queen coming off the bench, but I think if this team is going to be a playoff contender, he has to be the starting center and he has to be playing as well as he did at the peak of last season. So, yeah, there's a fair bit of depth on this team. I think Sadiq Bey, you might be surprised to see him there, but actually he's a very, very competent three-point shooter, pretty reasonable defensive player. I would hope, though, that Herb Jones takes that spot and Derek Queen moves into that pivot spot. But Jeremiah Fears coming off the bench, Jordan Hawkins, Jordan Poole. Yeah, they should be a pretty good team this year. Then and now, this is from Alt XYZ official record sale. We just sold a 2025 LeBron James Topps All Kings in PSA 10 for a record $23,000. The card was just $11,000 3 months ago, and now the latest sale on Alt was $23,000, a 110% increase. Yada, yada, yada. Consign your cards with us. It's just a big advertisement. However, this is significant to talk about because when Topps flagship initially dropped, pretty much there was two cards that we were talking about. We're talking about the Downtown ripoff, and we talked about the All Kings card. I'm actually really happy to see that there has been some movement onto this card. And so it's blasphemous to put them into the same sentence as a PMG or a Kaboom or a Downtown. However, I think this is a collectible SSP. And so I don't think we should ignore this sale. I think we should look into it more, because is the angle that you can still buy these cards for $270 for a Walter Clayton. Okay, probably not the best prospect or example, but you can get a Tatum for $800. You send it off to PSA, you put it away for a long time. Is that actually a very sensible play moving into the future? Because what is going through my head now with all this top stuff at the moment is that it seems incredibly difficult at the moment to get product. And it could just be that basketball cards are really popular at the moment, or it could be that they didn't print enough at the start. And so if it's the first year of flagship and they didn't really have their act together, and they've made this fantastic SSP that is going to be is collectible now and it's going to be collectible into the future, even buying the worst possible one for $250, is that actually a good long-term play? Giannis on a PSA 9 for $600. I think long-term, that is an absolute home run. Jalen Brunson for 1750, that's clearly inflated due to the NBA finals and nothing else, you know? So yeah, in conclusion, All Kings, I think we have to keep an eye on these. If you're buying them for cheap, I think this is a very, very good idea. And that sale of the LeBron James actually gives these cards a bit of legitimacy. Moving on, more NBA news, and this is from, again, Shams and Sports Center. Breaking 6-time NBA All-Star DeMar DeRozan has signed with the Denver Nuggets on a 1-year, $3.9 million deal. This is fantastic for everybody involved. The Nuggets had to shed salary. They are currently over the second apron. And that was one of the reasons why, well, that was the predominant factor in the Nuggets trading away Peyton Watson. So they needed to get some talent back, and they also need to get some cheap talent. I actually like this a lot. I think that the problem with DeRozan the last few years is that he's been far too ball dominant. And anytime that he is dribbling the ball as much as he does, your team is limited to how far that they can go. And so what I think is brilliant about this is that the ball is going to be in Jokic's hand, and then he's going to be facilitating to DeRozan and not the opposite way around. And so in some really backwards way, I think this is going to be really good for both DeMar DeRozan and also for the Denver Nuggets. The part that does stick in my head with DeMar DeRozan is that he was aggressively obtained by the San Antonio Spurs a few years ago. And for me, that's a massive compliment to him, because even though his game goes against every trend that's going on in the NBA at the moment and when they obtained him, and also everything against what the Spurs wanted to do traditionally in terms of spacing, penetration, short possession time, he's the polar opposite of all of that. And for them to still recruit him, I think that says a lot about his game and what he can do in the mid-range, and also his personality and, you know, what he does in the locker room. So even though this might not make a lot of sense on paper, actually, I think this is going to be really good for the Nuggets. And having him either come off the bench or start, I probably think he's going to come off the bench for them, because the amount of money they've spent on their starters, they have to get them to start to, you know, show what they can do. If he does win a championship, I think this is going to be fantastic for his legacy, because he's been very much an NBA lifer and has really looked after his body. He's really stuck around in the NBA. So I'd love to see him get a late season or late career championship. Our next piece of NBA news, again, is from Shams. We might as well call Shams the sponsor of this week's show. Klay Thompson is expected to sign with the Miami Heat after he clears waivers upon a contract buyout with the Dallas Mavericks, sources tell ESPN. Thompson plans to sign a 2-year, nearly $13 million deal with the Heat, with a player option in the second season. Thompson and the Mavericks navigated a buyout from his $17.5 million expiring salary after the 4-time NBA champion made it clear to Dallas that he wanted to play for a contender. The Heat made one of the NBA's all-time greatest shooters their top free agent priority this summer to surround Giannis and Bam Adebayo, and waited nearly 2 months on his release. So the Miami Heat completely depleted their roster trading for Giannis. So getting cheap, efficient veterans is an absolute must for this team, because if you look at their depth chart, it's bad. Starting five is fine. Davion Mitchell, Tim Hardaway Jr., Wiggins, Giannis, and Bam Adebayo. Bench is crazy bad. Drew Smith, Klay Thompson in the shooting guard and small forward spot. Power forward is both Bobby Portis and also at the center spot, Nikola Jovic, Pele Larson. Actually, Pele can play a little bit, so that's probably a little bit unfair there. And there's a couple of guys at the end of the bench. Simone Fontanico, again, he's like a big guy that can shoot, so that's probably not the worst thing. They need Klay Thompson bad. And it says a lot to me about Klay Thompson because he took less money to get out of that situation to go to a winner. I think Klay's a winner through and through. And for all the success that the Golden State Warriors had in their time, of course, Steph Curry has to take the lion's share of the credit. Draymond Green has to get some credit. Obviously, Andre Iguodala was there, won the finals MVP. Kevin Durant was there. But man, Klay Thompson was good. In his peak, he was just an efficient lockdown defender that you need to win championships. And I love that mentality. I love it when athletes take a discount to go and win games. And I'm actually really, really excited about this signing and how this will play out. Let's look at some values on the Miami Heat. Klay Thompson rookie card. 2012 Klay Thompson Prizm Silver PSA 10. Population on this is just 36. It is currently trading at 1,456. The all-time high on this is 4,851. Look, this is a tough one for me because this is not something that you can just dabble with and buy into for cheap. It's already at nearly 1,500 USD. In saying that, I love this card because it's 2012 Prizm. I think the design is fantastic. The population is epic at 36. It's Klay Thompson. He's an all-time winning NBA player. So if you go out and buy one of these, I'm so happy for you guys. In saying that, why don't we have a look at this? 2012 Klay Thompson National Treasures, numbered to 199, BGS 9, autograph 10 for the same price, $1,500. Actually, I would probably rather have the NT for that price. Yeah, that's a little bit of a check-in on Klay Thompson. Let's do a quick check-in on Giannis, my boy. Giannis silver rookie card from 2013 Prizm is trading at $7,800. The all-time high on this is $42,000. And in the last 3 months, he is up 9.86%. Let's just call it 10%. The last 6 months, he's actually down 30%. And the last year, he is up 18%. So a little bit of volatility on this card. Look, he's moved into all-time status at this point. There's not that many rookie cards out there for $7,000 or above $7,000. He's very collectible. Do I think it's a good purchase? Look, at that price, to be honest, if I had one in my collection, I'd be very happy, but I'm not racing to go out there and buy one. Do I think there's some potential for this card to go up? Actually, yeah, I do. I think that's actually, there's a lot of room here. I actually picked up a Spectra RPA of his for, I'll have to check my spreadsheet, but off the top of my head, it was either $1,000 or $2,000. I just want to see, and I picked it up about 12 months ago. This is not the same thing, but it's the same principle around this. I think that for some of his rookie stuff, there's actually still a lot of value to be had. So this is his 2013 gold standard, unnumbered on this card, but population's 132. It last sold for 1,600 USD on a BGS 9. I think you can't go wrong with that. I think that is such a home run. It's tough to not touch that. It's crazy, some of the prices on the silver. So here's another one here. Not his rookie year, but 2018 PSA 10 Kaboom Giannis for 3,100. Not the greatest comp in the world, but when you look at the population, 49 on the population on the Kaboom versus 89 on the silver Prizm, and it's double the price. Anyway, what I'm trying to get to here with Giannis cards, there's actually some weird little loops and opportunities inside of his cards that you just need to actually have a look for and see. Like some of his select rookie cards, I think are really good value. Here we go. Here's another one. 2013 Crusade. That looks like a sticker autograph. So rookie sticker autograph, no patch in this one. BGS 9.5, autograph 10. This sold for $1,000 straight, and that sold August 23, so literally just a couple of days ago. Population on this is 87. I think that is absolutely banging, and I would buy that every single day of the week. So really good one there. Just for my own entertainment, I want to see what's happening with Davion Mitchell because selfishly, I've got a small Davion Mitchell PC, and I believe in the kid. He was a Sacramento Kings guy, so that's honestly or the main reason why I got into buying his cards. But I think he's a good basketball player, and for him, it's about getting the situation right. Okay, I can't see any readily available or recent solds on the silver PSA 10. However, there's the Don Russ silver, and that sold for $25 on the PSA 10. His green Prizm rookie card, PSA 10, that sold for $7.47. So if he's going to be starting this year for the Miami Heat and they're a contender and they have a deep playoff run, I think for getting a PSA 10 rookie card for $10 or less, flawless Ruby rookie patch number to 15, PSA 8 auto 10, $85. Yeah, that's bang on. Checkerboard. Oh my God. The Don Russ checkerboard, which is an SSP, has sold for $14.51. Yeah, bang on. All right, Davion Mitchell, I think definitely worth a bit more of a look. Moving on. So this is the big trade that went down, and this is a funny one for me because I feel like they've consolidated a couple of different trades all into one just to make it all work, and that's fine. But my sort of recollection of this was that Schroeder was traded about a week before this, but obviously that wasn't reconciled until all this went down. Peyton Watson, sign and trade from Denver, went to Cleveland. Cam Whitmore from Washington has gone to Cleveland. And the draft rights to Ismail Kamagate from the Clippers has all gone to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Denver Nuggets have obtained an unprotected 2031 first-round pick from Cleveland, which is huge. That is absolutely huge because the Cavs are going all in at the moment to win a championship, as in right now. And so the timing on that, like 5 years away, is really the perfect time for them to have a good 2 or 3 year run, flame out with an old James Harden, be retooling, and then not have your first round pick. So I think in terms of asset acquisition for the Denver Nuggets, you have to give them an A+ on this. A 2032 second round pick from Sacramento via Cleveland, and Julian Reese, a two-way player, which was waived immediately. The Clippers get Max Strus from Cleveland, and in my personal opinion, he's the best player currently in this trade. I think Peyton Watson's got the highest upside, but Strus is an absolute baller. He's a strong 3-and-D guy, and that's a massive acquisition for the Clippers. I kind of like what the Clippers have done in terms of retooling their team at the moment, getting rid of Harden, getting in Darius Garland, now getting in Max Strus, getting in Brandon Ingram, getting rid of Kawhi Leonard. I kind of like this sort of on-the-run retooling that they're doing. I think Strus is going to be fantastic for them next year. He'll fit right into their system. I think he'll mesh with the coach, Ty Lue, really, really well. A+ for that. The Washington Wizards get Trey Mann from Charlotte, a 2027 second-round pick from the Clippers, and cash considerations. I'm not really too sure why the Wizards are involved in this trade, but like whatever, here we are. The Charlotte Hornets get Dennis Schroeder. The Hornets are going to need a little bit more point guard play after moving on LaMelo Ball, so that's actually a really good cheap pickup for them. I'm really, really intrigued about what the Cleveland Cavaliers are doing because I don't actually fully understand how they pulled all of this off, because it just seems to me like they've been adding players to their roster, but how are they doing this without going way, way above the second apron? So actually, I found the Bobby Marks tweet here. If you don't follow Bobby Marks on Twitter, please, guys, at Bobby Marks42, give this guy a follow. He's an absolute genius. So my memory was actually a little bit faulty on this because they actually did. They did obtain a whole bunch of talent. They've obtained James Harden, Peyton Watson, Mario Hezonja, and Malik Thomas. However, they did actually unload a whole bunch of talent too. They got rid of DeAndre Hunter, and his contract was actually quite large. He's on a 4-year, $90 million contract. So he'll be on $24 million this year. So, that's a lot of cap space to clear up just with that one move alone. Lonzo Ball, he was traded to Utah. Darius Garland was shipped out to the Clippers. Max Strus to the Clippers, and Dennis Schroeder to Charlotte. So I suppose really the question is, would you want DeAndre Hunter, Garland, and Max Strus, or would you want James Harden and Peyton Watson I mean, probably the ceiling is higher with James Harden and Peyton Watson, but my issue with James Harden, my position with James Harden hasn't changed at all. I think he's an absolute playoff liability, and he's a fantastic scorer in the regular season, and he's an all-time NBA player, but in the playoffs, he just doesn't seem to show up as much as other players do. And so would they have been better off obtaining Peyton Watson and keeping Garland? Like, is that something else they could have done? Look, anyway, probably the bigger part of this here is that they are obtained a whole bunch of talent and they are actually below the first apron. So all of my concerns about them being a second apron team, paying all this tax, it's just not going to happen. And also, too, they have a team that's competing for the championship. I think they've got a lot of depth. I think they've protected themselves from injury. I think they're going to be able to rotate their players and give them some rest through the regular season. Trey Mann, Sam Merrill, Jalen Tyson was fantastic for them last year. I think Thomas Bryant is a good enough big man. And also, too, you've got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen up front, so you can sort of rotate those guys through. And I think resting and rotating players is really important in the current and modern NBA. So I'm actually really excited to see how this plays out. The Nuggets did have to sacrifice Peyton Watson because of their own salary cap issues. So I am actually going to be watching this space a little bit in terms of Peyton Watson. How is he going to develop with the Cavaliers? It's a very, very full roster. I'm not going to hold my breath in terms of what Watson is going to be able to achieve this year. I think it's going to be complicated for him. Honestly, man, this stuff is not low. Peyton Watson, silver rookie PSA 10 from Prizm. It last sold on the August the 20th for $142. Look, it's not nothing. It's not dirt cheap though either. There was 2 sold on Probstein in 9 days for exactly the same price. That does make me a little bit leery, actually. We got a listener question, a listener comment. This is from @BCANACCI. The reason GOAT cards are on fire is the social media world of the 2020s. Between X, IG, TikTok, young people consume more Jordan, Brady, Kobe content than today's current stars. Hey, man, that's a super cool observation. I don't disagree with that, but I actually wonder if that age group or the athletes that you mentioned has more appeal to, say, 30 and 40-year-olds who currently now have money, and that's like their GOATs from their childhood, as opposed to like young people having that much money to buy these sort of high-end cards that are exploding at the moment. Your point is very valid, but social media is keeping these people back in the eyes of people and keeping it in the forefront of people's minds because some of their highlights are sick. Like Jordan highlights are insane. Kobe highlights, honestly, they're goated. Can you imagine Kobe Bryant in today's NBA, how popular he would be? Like it's nuts. But do I think young kids are going out and buying these cards? Probably not, man. I think it's more like, people my age who are a bit more established in their lives and have got that little bit more disposable income to go out and get it. Do you see the money these young people have at card shows? It's crazy. Yeah, it's true. You're right, man. Maybe it's column A, column B. Young kids watching TikToks and middle-aged dudes like me getting back into the hobby. But you are right. It does make me jealous watching some of these guys walk around with their folders and their boxes, man, for sure. Thank you so much for the comment, man. I appreciate you. Alrighty, moving on here from Darren Rovell. @Darren Rovell. This card was $1,500 in June. It sold for $3,300 tonight. That becomes a new high data point for giddy collectors. As is happening more frequently, the winning bidder had not bought anything on eBay before. Is it a pump that won't get paid for or a new person in the market? I would personally say, Darren, that's a shill bid account pumping up a card. However, the reason why I'm really interested in this card is because we've spoken about this card on the pod before. You guys all know out there, I love this card. I think this is an all-time goated piece of the hobby, and buy one of these cards at any price point that you can afford. Honestly, I think these cards are a very, very, very good long-term hold. 2008 Topps Chrome, LeBron James. So I think now is actually just a good time to go back and have a look at some of the prices. Because let's just say that is shilled up, and it most likely is if it's a single account and you haven't seen it done before. So that sale is not in Card Ladder, which is a pretty good indication that that last one was false. So you can get a raw of that for $547. Sorry, you can get a PSA 9 of that for $547, and you can get a raw of that for $315. I think even just getting this in BGS would be fine. Try and find a BGS one. Alrighty. Topps Chrome LeBron James BGS 9.5. That sold for $1,275. Even these, man, these have absolutely skyrocketed. I had just a regular Topps base card. I can't believe that. I lost my copy too. I cannot find it anywhere. 315 USD. That is wild. At Card Purchaser, these are the current PSA grading prices and turnaround times. $79.99 per card, maximum insured value $1,500, express for $149, max value $2,500, super express $349 for max value of $5,000. So this is the current standings of what we're dealing with PSA after they shut down another tier. I mean, is regular going to shut down next? Is that the next logical thing that's going to happen into this space? It wouldn't surprise me at all, honestly. I don't want to go on about PSA for too much. I'm just going to do that as a really quick hitting one because I spoke about PSA a lot the last couple of weeks. At Nautia, this is again off Twitter. As grading becomes more expensive, PSA 9 should begin to command a larger premium over raw copies. That's why I've been accumulating them long before the market catches on. Time will tell if the thesis is right. Look, I think it's very difficult to make blanket statements about this type of thing, but in principle, I definitely agree with you because there's some instances where a PSA 9 is cheaper than a raw card, and it just doesn't make sense. It takes time, it takes money for a card to get to PSA. Raw cards, you're taking on all of that risk of what is it going to be when it comes back from PSA, plus the grading fee, plus the time that it takes. And so I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. The only two things I would attach onto this theory is that it has to be the right player or card. So what I mean by that is it has to be someone that's collectible, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, that sort of top tier player. And or it has to be low pop. I don't think there's any point of buying a PSA 9 of a card that there's 10,000 of. You might see some small long-term gains out of an exceptional player like, say, a LeBron James, if there is a card that has a population of 20,000 and 10,000 of them are PSA 9s. But I think that your returns on that aren't going to be a home run every time. So that's my only thing with that. Do I personally believe you can find excellent value buying low graded cards that aren't PSA 10? 100%, man. And in fact, I am all aboard that. And I actually personally find enjoyment in buying these cards. And so I've literally got a whole box of graded cards that I've just picked up for like $5, $10. And I think part of it is that when I see these cards, I'm like, well, the grading alone costs more than $10 or $5. Like, how can you sell this card for $5? And I get it why. It didn't come back as a 10. That's what people were chasing 10s. They just want to flip it and get out of the card and take the L. And I respect that. Don't get me wrong. But there's also a part of me too. I'm like, I see the value here. So yes, I do agree in principle with what you're saying. I think this is a very long-term play though, man. And until we see what PSA will settle at in terms of their long-term pricing, because they might bring back the bulk prices again. You never know. It's just a little bit of a wait and see on this one. Getting towards the end of the show, we have just got two more things to go, and we're going to cut this bad boy off. At Lameme James, in a span of 4 months, the 1997 Metal Universe Shaquille O'Neal PSA 10, population 77, is up 1,255%. Joe Fu must be absolutely frothing right now. If you purchase these in April of 2026, congratulations to you. This is one of the all-time flips in sports cards, and you should enjoy yourself at this moment in time. I would personally sell. If I bought something for $200 and it's currently trading at 2007, I would just flip that out immediately. Look, I love the artwork on these 90s cards. Don't get me wrong what I'm about to say, but there is also a small part of me when the population on some of these cards is incredibly high. In this example, obviously it's not, it's 77, but it really does make me worried when people are spending over $1,000 on some of these 90s inserts. And I think there is a little bit of craziness going on at the moment with these 90s inserts. So it is absolutely buyer beware, in my opinion, at the moment with all this stuff. Yeah, well done, Lameme James, on pointing that out. Stop loss D's nuts. What WTF is with these 97 metal cards exploding? Did you see the Metal Universe Marvel Metal Football crossovers last week? WTF again. At 90s Kid. Oh, wow. I wasn't following the base 10. That's wild. Years ago, when I knew I wasn't going to get a PMG, I decided to go for the Reebok Trio. Hey, man, that is sick. Like, if you can't afford something, buy something that you can afford. And then if you love the card and now it goes up, that is, for me, collecting 101. Like, hats off to you, man, on absolutely nailing that. Retweet for you, sir. Deserved. Shaq cards are so undervalued. Yeah, 100%. Lucky last card of the show today, guys. I actually recorded on Monday night, so there'll be another show coming out this Sunday. It is with Sam Kutrupi. He came on and we spoke WNBA. He also dropped a pretty reasonable bombshell on me that I probably should have known before he came onto the show. He also didn't tell me until he came on, so it was kind of one of those things. But actually, tune into the show. It's a really good surprise. We chewed through some of that. And I'd love to have Sam back on just to talk hobby again. I actually think he's a very understated person within the hobby. I think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. So tune in for that. That will drop Sunday night. I just need to give it like a bit of a polish up and an edit. Last card of the night, 2004 SP Game Used Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Jewel Logerman, 1 of 1, graded authentic. It sold for $869,250. I think there's so many jokes that can go on here. You know, these two are just like bitter rivals. We saw what Jordan said about Isaiah Thomas in his documentary. Clearly, there is no love lost between these two dudes. This one's almost a little bit comedic for me, like to see them on the same card at the same time. I'm kind of hoping someone's got in here and dropped some gifts into the comments, which they haven't. I feel like that's a massive miss. Come on, Twitter universe, what are you doing? Look, a lot of this Jordan stuff now is just fantasy daydreams for me. I don't even really look at it in any sort of serious capacity. It's just, you know, it's just wild, this stuff, honestly. Congratulations, though, to the owner of this card. I'm super, super happy for you. I'm sure if you can afford this, you'd just be so happy to put this into your collection. So that's sold on Heritage Auctions. I would guess that Shine has added that to his collection. Thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in tonight. There is a heap of people on Instagram, so thank you so much. Thank you to Brandon. Thank you to BCANACCI on YouTube for that. I really appreciate you. There's a few people, mostly trolls, to be honest, on TikTok, but thank you to all the people on TikTok that also tuned in. We'll catch you on Sunday night for the podcast, and then hopefully we'll catch you around the pages, guys. Take care of yourselves. Happy collecting, and I'll catch you for the next episode. Peace out, guys. Bye.